Welcome back to Tailgaters. The NBA All-Star break came to a close, and now the competition is starting to heat up as some of the teams will start fighting for the playoff positioning while others will be fighting for their playoff lives.
That's right, Ben, and because the playoff push is beginning, just like we did earlier in the season, we have decided to play yet another game of contender or pretender.
Yeah, so we're going to start off in the Eastern Conference where the Boston Celtics are currently the 4th seed. Josiah, are the C's contenders or pretenders?
You know, I know there have been quite a bit of inconsistencies with this team this year and with a lot of the issues that have happened with this team, but they're a contender. They are very much a contender in the Eastern Conference. And, you know, Kyrie Irving, several months ago, was, called LeBron saying, oh, man, I'm sorry, what I'm dealing with right now is crazy. Because there's been a bit of turmoil and stuff going on around the organization, but they're still so deep, and they're still very talented. I think they can match up with anybody in the Eastern Conference. Kyrie's still having a terrific season. Jason Tatum is still getting better as a player. Marcus Morris had a breakout year, shooting extremely well from the three-point range. Now, Gordon Hayward has struggled coming back from his gruesome injury, but there's still time left in the season, a few months left, and we've seen flashes of his brilliance. If he can give them some point production off the bench, I think it'll be good enough for them, and they have an elite defense. They got plenty of guys that can defend with Marcus Smart, Jaylen Brown, Jason Tatum, Al Horford. There's plenty of guys, and not just defending, but they can score the ball as well. Yeah, I still view this team as a significant threat in the Eastern Conference.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. They are a threat in the Eastern Conference, but I think they're definitely less of a threat than we thought they were going to be in the beginning of the year. Everyone assumed Gordon Hayward's coming off that injury. He's going to come back. He's going to be the player he was when we got him from Utah. I mean, they're definitely going to be a threat, but I think they're pretenders as far as an NBA championship goes.
Yeah, I honestly, I think every team we mentioned here, besides the Warriors, they're all pretenders, because I think the Warriors, they're going to win the championship this year. But as far I'm talking about contenders as teams that can make it to the finals or make it to like a conference finals appearance. That's what I view as contenders, because we know no one's going to beat the Warriors.
Right. I'm still going to say the Celtics are pretenders here.
Okay.
Jason Tatum, he did have a phenomenal year last year. He's been a little underwhelming in his sophomore season. But the whole team hasn't been playing at the level that they definitely can, and especially that mixed along with the emergence of the Bucks in the East has made it extremely difficult. And the Bucks, the Raptors, those are two phenomenal teams up top in the East.
And the Sixers as well.
And the Sixers, yeah. I think it's going to be very tough for the Celtics to get by when the team is not playing to their full potential.
I get that.
So we are heading back to the East, where the Indiana Pacers are 3rd in the conference despite the loss of Victor Oladipo to injury. Josiah, is Indy a contender or pretender?
I've been saying for so long, I was really a believer in this team for a while. But now with Oladipo out of the lineup, I think they're a pretender. I just think right now, from what we've seen, I mean, it hasn't played much of an impact because they played still relatively well without him. But I think that will start to become an issue later in the season as the playoffs start. It's going to be more of a problem. But they did went out and get Wesley Matthews, add some depth to that team. Bojan Bogdanovic really stepped up offensively. His shooting has been tremendous. Miles Turner, he's been more efficient this year, but I think he's capable of more. I mean, 13.7 rebounds a game. I know he has more in him, and it's a little disappointing to me. Domantas Sabonis, though, he's been fantastic, one of the best backup big men in the league. They have the defense, but I think the problem to me is they don't have enough scoring to beat teams like the Sixers, the Celtics, the Bucks, and the Raptors. And I wouldn't be shocked if they continue. I mean, the thing is, like, their ceiling right now, I think, is second round, but that's only if they stay in the top 3. I think if they drop like 4, 5, 6, they may not get out of the first round. So I think it's going to be tough the rest of the way. I think the effects of not having Oladipo will really start to show these next several weeks, I think.
I couldn't have said it any better myself. I'm saying the Pacers are also pretenders. That was my big thing with this. Like I just said, there are so many great teams on the top of the Eastern Conference. Without your superstar player in the lineup, it's going to be tough for you to compete, to like claw your way to the top there. And I mean, I think they will make the playoffs again. I think they do have a decent enough team to get there, but it's a matter of how far they will go. And without Victor Oladipo, I don't think they can go very far.
Yeah, and I know somebody out there doesn't like to hear that. Maybe, maybe not. So now we move out west, where the Portland Trailblazers also sit in 4th place of the conference. Ben, does Rip City have a contender or a pretender?
I mean, I feel like I'm a broken record here, but I'm going to have to say pretender again. And, I mean, they've been playing very well this year. There's no denying that. Being in the 4th spot in the West is very impressive, especially with the teams out there that you can consider. But, I mean, every team out there is going to run into a buzzsaw in the Warriors. And not only that, I mean, the Nuggets have been playing exceptionally well
Yes.
also. So
I said in the beginning of the season they'd be second best in the Western Conference, and I think they are second best in the West.
I don't know if I refuted that point.
You
I hope I
might have.
didn't.
You might have.
Well, we don't talk about it. But, I mean, they're just going to run into a buzzsaw out there somewhere. So, I'm going to say pretender.
Yeah, and I get that. I don't think they're a team that can beat the Warriors either. But as far as a team that can make it deeper in the playoffs, I think they definitely can, which is why I would say they're a contender. Because I haven't really been much of a believer in them for the past several years. I never looked at them as a team that could make a deep run, but I think this year they have a chance.
Yeah.
They still have Lillard and McCollum, one of the best backcourts in the league. Lillard's been fantastic. Yusuf Nurkic is playing more consistently this year, really stuffing the stat sheet. And the Blazers have something that they haven't had in a long time, and that's depth. And they really helped themselves when they went out and got Rodney Hood and Enes Kanter. Rodney Hood gives them scoring, especially from the outside, and he can create his own shot. I think he might be able to give the Blazers that third score they really haven't had for a while. And then you get Enes Kanter. He's a monster inside and on the glass, and he can score whenever he wants. So he provides a fantastic backup to Nurkic. And I also got to point out, Jake Layman has really emerged as a key piece in the rotation, especially as of late. He's shown athleticism, improved shooting, and his slashing ability, and just his energy. He really is a good spark off the bench for that team. So they have depth, I think, to make a deep run in the playoffs. I think it's definitely possible.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not saying by any means that the Trailblazers have not had an impressive season, because they have. But I just think as far as going deep into the playoffs, I don't see this team making that deep of a run.
That's fair. So finally, back in the Western Conference, the San Antonio Spurs will look to make it to the postseason for the 22nd straight time. Ben, are the Spurs contenders or pretenders?
I'm saying the Spurs are contenders. They have been playing very impressive basketball since December. Since December 1st, they have the second best point differential in the Western Conference, which is extremely impressive. And they have the best field goal percentage in the West since that stretch. I mean, they have been playing phenomenal basketball as of late. And, I mean, it's just so hard to root against Popovich going into the playoffs, because that man knows exactly what he's doing. He is a phenomenal coach. And I think with that kind of leadership, he can guide that team into the playoffs and make a deep run. Yeah,
and he has legendary interviews as well. But, I understand where you're coming from. But I think the Spurs are pretenders. Now, I'll start off with some positive things with this team, because DeMar DeRozan has become a better playmaker and more of an all-around player offensively for that team. Still can't really shoot the three, but, he's improved in other parts. LaMarcus Aldridge has had an all-star type season. Derek White has filled in admirably for DeJounte Murray at this point, and he's really shown flashes of brilliance with his offense, his shooting and scoring. And Bryn Forbes has been a steal for them, really shooting the ball well. But the problem with this team, I think, now, they are playing better as of late, but they've had a lot of peaks and valleys as well. Despite the fact that they have the fewest turnovers per game, they commit the highest percentage of live ball turnovers in the NBA, and their transition defense is awful. It is terrible. And when you give it the ball in play and you can't get back on defense, I don't think that's a winning formula at all. And I think some part of the transition defense is without DeJounte Murray, they're really starting to feel that effects of him, because with him on the court, a lot of versatility. He was long for his position, so he could guard everywhere, and he's a really good defender. Without him, you're starting to see why they're struggling. And I think first round they can get any team a good series, but I don't think they get that far. Yeah, I mean, for me, the way they've been scoring, the way they've been playing offense as of late, I mean, if they can continue that trend and keep expanding on what they're doing now, the transition defense will not be as big of an issue as it has been during the year. But again, to try to keep up that level of offense is going to be tough. Yeah, but exactly. I'm sticking with the Spurs being contenders. Okay. That's going to conclude this segment, but stick around as Josiah and I will be cooking up our entrees of the week.